Hey, good morning, guys. Dave's still here in the Wyoming office. This this is Legend. He's my buddy Murph's dog. Murph's out traveling this week, and he's had some bad kennel experiences. So he asked if I'd take care of Legend during the week. So this is day 3 for him here, and he's adapted pretty well to a different house, having 2 playmates here all the time. Anyway, he's a good boy. All right, buddy, time to sit down. There we go. All right. So, guys, this is a CEO school video. I have 2 CEO school items today. So let's just head into them. The first is, so I counsel a lot of people who are CEOs of businesses that are struggling, or people who want to start up a side business or their own gig. And one of the universal things I find that helps you head towards success instead of plateauing or failing to get going is measuring. What gets measured gets managed. And a lot of people struggle with what to measure. There are really 3 things. The first 3 things you have to create metrics for, you have to create measurements for. The first is, how many of whatever you're selling are you actually selling? How many units are you selling? That's how many hours are you selling if you're selling your own consulting services, or how many pipes have you sold if you're a pipe guy? How many? I don't know. I'll just leave it there. Those are my examples. So my first thing you have to track is, how many of what are you selling are you actually selling? By week, by month, by quarter, by year. You need to be able to answer at any point, how many have I sold this year? I structured mine so that I knew every month how many hours did we sell. That's essentially what I did in my old life. We were a consulting business and we sold expertise. We sold hours. So every month we tracked how many hours did we expect to sell, and then how many hours did we actually sell, and was I gapping to the good or the bad, and why. The second thing you have to track is, how much revenue did you bring in? Gross revenue. How much money did your enterprise actually make by month, by quarter, or by year? You should always be able to answer the question, how much money have you brought in this year? Again, I would do it by month, and then know how my quarter went, and then know how my year is going. So today is Saturday, September 13th. So the question would be, how many pipes did you sell between January 1st and August 31st? How many hours did you sell from January 1st to August 31st? The second thing you need to really track is, how much did it cost you to sell however many units you've sold? And then the last thing is, what's your net income or your profit, your net revenue, whatever, however you want to call it. Most people call it profit. How much profit did you make, again, from January 1st to August 31st? How many units did you sell? How much money did you bring in? How much revenue did you make? How much did it cost you to do that? And what profit margin are you at? That's really basically it. If you can measure those, I guess that's 4 things, you'll get a real sense if you're on track or not. If you're tracking up, tracking down, costs are much higher than you thought, revenue is much lower than you thought, or higher. And is your margin, do you have profit? And if so, how much profit? I did mine in both gross actual dollars, and then there's a percent. So I knew if I sold $1, I knew that my costs were 50% of that. So 50%, and then that meant my revenue is, or I'm sorry, my profit was 50%, that kind of thing. You have to be able to talk like that. And it's really hard. It's the thing I found most hard to teach people who were looking to me for guidance. And that was, can you create a system that you can use on a daily basis so that you can see monthly, quarterly, and annual figures for those 4 things? How much did you sell? How much money did you bring in? How much did it cost you to do that? And what's your profit margin? And all those in actual dollars and in percentage. And then you need to compare that against, is that what you expected? Is this thing going well or not going well? If it's going well, why? What are you doing right? What can you do to improve? Or if it's none of these numbers are where you expected them, is your plan wrong? Is your approach wrong? Because that's really for another video, is how do you improve what you're doing so that your numbers get better? But those are the most important things you can do. The most important thing you can do is create a measuring system for those 4 things. All right, the second CEO school rule I want to talk about is don't get fired. Well, what do I mean by that? Most people who start a business or start a second gig or try to create additional revenue into your family's budget are already employed. And good or bad, I'm not going to evaluate the conversation at this point, but for good or bad, your employer probably has rules about you taking on a second employment. Many companies require what's called a secondary employment agreement. So it's key to understand, what are you restricted by your current employer. And then the second thing to think about in this area of conversation is, are you in any way competing with the business that employs you? Are you trying to do what you do for your job, but now you want to do it on your own? And a lot of tradesmen fall into this rule. I would fall into this rule. You know, I was employed as a management consultant, and I wanted to start my own company, my own management consulting company. Well, it ended up I needed to quit to do that. So I had to sever my entire income, my entire salary, and go start my own company, because it was essentially doing what I did before. It applies to a lot of tradesmen. If you're a roofer, an electrical, HVAC, plumber, whatever you're doing, but you want to go and create your own, you want to make sure that, one, you're stealing business from your current employer, and you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way where they can't just fire you for it, or you actually get sued for it. You have to review your employment agreement, your employment contract, rules of the company. Whether you agree with them or not isn't too important, in my opinion. It's, what are you legally bound by? Do you understand that? And are you treading on it, or are you clearly outside of it? If you want to start a Amazon sales company, or do something that's, you're trying to convert a hobby into a business, those are different. That's not what I'm talking about. But you need to understand what you're restricted by with your current employer before you start spending money or marketing or trying to sell your wares. All right, guys, that's enough for this video. So it's CEO School, 2 items. Create a management system that you know how to use. I don't care if it's just a sheet of paper and a pen. Track how many you've sold, how much revenue you brought in, how much it costs you to bring that revenue in, and what's your profit level. Dollars, percent. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it on track? Is it off track? You need to understand that. And number 2 is, make sure what you're doing doesn't get you in trouble legally or get you fired. Guys, that's it. Hope this helps. We'll see you on the next video.